not the 90s style, but to prove my point, I took a screenshot of an outdoor scene where there were like 13 people in the background and every single one was in a coat or a sweater and jeans, and she was in a halter top and a mini skirt. So it was really supposed to be like fall or winter. And I know
Slayer
that,
warm blood.
Yeah.
When you got a body like that, why hide it?
Right. But since I know people have a lot to say about the way women are drawn in comics and how they're costumed, I'm curious, for the current comics, how much thought goes into how you dress her, how her body is drawn. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, are you talking specifically Buffy or
Maybe, I don't know, I'll be honest, I've only read part of, I think it was season 8, I don't know, whatever my boyfriend gave me to read. But I'm just curious how you make those decisions about the women, and specifically, I mean, it was really Cordelia and Buffy that I felt dressed really differently than everybody else in the high school scene, so I'm more talking about the lead females.
Right. I mean, I think with Buffy and Cordelia, it was more just like hammering home their distinction as like the popular girls, and that's what makes Buffy so fun too, is that dichotomy between her being like, at least at her previous school, very popular and bubbly and cheerleadery, and then being a vampire slayer. So I'm guessing that's why they dressed her so much like that in the shows. I think we're taking a more utilitarian approach to her clothes now in the comics. It seems like George is for sure. Very
It's something you guys talk about.
Comfortable too. I know George gives a lot of thought to clothes, yeah. And for my characters, like, I feel like it's pretty easy drawing a large cast of female characters as a female, because I'm just like, what would I wear in this situation? It's pretty simple.
A really short skirt.
Yeah.
I think Georges does a great job with costuming. Georges puts a tremendous amount of work into figuring out what the women are wearing, and he's really, really good at it. And when we have a guest artist, we really strive to come close to the level of costuming that Georges would bring to it. When we first started doing the comics, one of the first questions Georges had to Joss was, what should I dress Buffy out of? And Joss suggested the Anthropology catalog. So,
wow.
So you go to Twitter, Anthropology. So that became a basis for a lot of what Georges did. But, you know, really Georges just has an incredible fashion sense. More than, it's funny when stuff comes up between Sierra and Freddie, the other editor on the book, we always have to defer about women's clothing to Georges, because, you know, he just knows it.
Cool. You guys talked about your favorite episode, or least favorite episode. Outside of the body, what was your most, I guess, emotional episode to write, to acting, and basically anything from there?
Most emotional episode to write might have been, oddly, Double Meat Palace, because I turned in the first draft and Josh said, I think there's been a miscommunication. And I had to rewrite it all over a weekend. And so what you actually saw was a second draft that was totally different than the first draft. And there's nothing worse than going in and rewriting a thing that you don't feel good about, because I knew Joss didn't like it. So every scene I would go into, before I could rewrite it, I'd have to read the version I knew he didn't like, which just makes you feel terrible, and then you've got to like get your energy up and get your confidence up to rewrite it. So, you know, I went through a lot of emotions writing that. So, sorry.
Okay, we've only got a few minutes left, so back over to you.
They're all emotional.
First, I just wanted to say that I believe that I'm not one of the newer fans. I'm not one of the only newer fans here, because I literally binged on it on Netflix like last month.
I feel like this line might have been long enough to fit Netflix did.
But my question was, have you, well, watching the show, and then I've only started on the comics, but enough to see Dracula come back. Have you entertained the idea of doing a one-off spin of the adventures of Xander and Dracula?
Yeah.
Well, we actually, Drew wrote a story about them in Tales of the Slayers. It's only, it's like a 10-page story, 12-page story. Great artist named Ben Stenbeck drew it. But when we were doing Tales of the Slayers, or no, we did Tales of the Slayers and we followed up with Tales of the Vampires. And Drew just really wanted to get back to Dracula. He's like, I really want to write Dracula again because that character is hilarious. Drew Goddard was that one. So we've seen that, but yeah, I mean, we like ideas like that float around a lot. We talk about that stuff, but we really try to maintain the level of quality in the books. And when a lot of like tangential ideas come up, we just wind up backing off of them because we've got to try to just focus on doing the main thing right. So if there was a way in which Dracula made sense with what's going to happen in season 10, then sure, Xander Dracula miniseries.
Thank you.
And mini skirts.
I've been a great fan of this series, probably the second season of Buffy. I started in Angel, and I've read some of the trade collections of Angel and Buffy, and the thing that I'm so impressed by is the voice, that it feels like watching TV shows. Like, they flow like they are seasons, and I always enjoy that you call them seasons. And I haven't read all the series though, so I might be asking something that you've done already, but I really like Joss Whedon's Frey. And I wondered if there was any thought of doing a Frey series, and has she crossed over into any of these stories? Will she ever? Because again, I haven't read all of them.
Well, yeah, actually, in the midst of season 8, there is a crossover. There's a time travel thing that gets Frey into the mix of the story. So Frey shows up when you get about halfway through season 8. There's a 4-issue run that Joss wrote, and Carl Moline, the artist from Frey, came back and he did that arc. And Carl's continued to contribute to seasons 8 and 9. But we did touch on that, and we talk quite often about doing more Frey. But Frey is definitely something that we will only do. The plan has been all years anyway that we would only do it with Joss can write it himself. Like, it works to have all these different writers collaborating on a lot of things, but I think Sugar Shock and Frey will only ever touch if when Joss has the time to do it all himself.
I'll be doing Avengers for a few years, so.
Seems like a busy guy.
Thank you.
Hearing all of you talk about rewatching some of the episodes, and I rewatch the episodes all the time, and sometimes I'll watch 3 completely different random episodes in a row, and that I found can put new lights on things, like, Jonathan in earshot to Jonathan in conversations with dead people right next to each other, and I was just wondering, in rewatching it, do you have any experiences that stick out in your mind of seeing things in a completely new light?
But really, I'll try to say this really quickly. But when I was running through the whole series sometime last year, I was watching on Netflix, watching on my laptop, and I was in bed watching it, and my son crawled into bed and fell asleep beside me as I'm watching this. And I was in the episode where Andrew kills Jonathan, and Jonathan falls on that big sigil, and the blood starts to spread out and fill into the cracks in the sigil. And I look over, and my 6-year-old son is wide awake staring at the screen. Damn it, Joss. That was bad. That will stick in my mind for a very, very long.
Hi, huge fan of the show, long-time fan. I used to watch it with my grandmother. And it was very integral. Being so young and watching the show and seeing Buffy as a strong woman was really integral in my development as a person, so thank you. And also as an actress. And this is for Mr. Brendon over here. I've played parts for like a week, and sometimes I have remnants of those parts in my regular life. Like, those characters just show up, and I'm like, whoa, how did you get here? So can you talk about a time or two when Xander has unexpectedly popped up in Nicholas Brendon?
It's because Xander and Nikki are so much alike. But I played a gay guy once, an over-the-top gay guy for a Lifetime movie. And that was like 5 years ago, and he still pops up. You know what I mean? And his affectations were very affected. And then I did a one-man David Sedaris show for 2 years in a row, the Sandland Diaries. Oh, and that pops up all the time too. It's like because my voice changes, So it's honest. It's the gay characters that And it's funny, I mean, I'll be like, after I did this, Less Than the City, it was literally 6 to 8 months of going in on auditions, and I'm like, I just nailed the gay guy. And I was like, this guy out of my system. I didn't know how to do it, I don't exercise it. So Xander is, we're so much alike, it's when I play gay. I linger for a while.
Thank you.
Okay, and we have to wrap it up. I'm sorry, we've been getting times up significantly.